Hi, I'm going to be doing my presentation on a reform for nationwide mandates on the minimum compensation for exonerees. I was looking into cases of individuals who had been wrongfully convicted and what they received in return for their convictions, and what I noticed is that it varied so much. A couple of different cases that I saw were posted by the Innocence Project, one of which was David Robinson, who was wrongfully identified as a rapist by the victim. He served 27 years for a crime he didn't commit, and in an article written by the Innocence Project, they discuss how it was hard for him to access things such as health insurance, a house, and even a bank card. While he was monetarily compensated in a huge amount, these basic necessities were really hard for him to obtain after he was released. After that, I started to look into compensations, state by state comparisons. So what I realized is that there was a huge difference between states, with the lowest compensation being around $25,000 a year per year of conviction. I'm sorry, $25,000 per year of conviction in Louisiana, and the highest was $200,000 per year of conviction in Washington, D.C. This is completely unfair, and it should be nationally regulated, and it shouldn't just be the monetary compensation that's regulated, it should also be the other benefits as well. There's been anecdotes such as Robinson's that have made it abundantly clear that it's difficult to obtain housing, healthcare, as well as psychological help and legal help. All of these are said to be included in the compensations in articles written by the Innocence Project. Whereas the only area that directly mentions helping obtaining housing in the state-by-state comparison chart by the Innocence Project is Washington, D.C. The refutes to this reform would originally be that mandating compensation would impede the limits that are already there in each state, and these limitations by state are there for a reason. The proposed solution would be to limit the monetary compensation as Connecticut has, and Connecticut is currently giving a certain percentage of the average household income per year of incarceration. This would allow for monetary compensations to still vary state by state, depending on the state's median income. The average or the percentage would be allowed to be variable as long as it remained within the given range. My proposal for that given range would be 100 to 200% of the average income. I determined 100 to 200% because it not only compensates the individual for the time that they lost, but it also exceeds the exoneree's expectations and acknowledges the mistake that was made and the time that was lost as a result of that mistake. With the mandate, the state should also be required to help the exoneree find housing and ensure that that housing is secured for at least a year. This allows for the exoneree to get back on their feet and establish themselves before, leases are up and things of that nature. It should also be mandated that the exoneree has healthcare that covers any psychological counsel that the exoneree wishes, as well as basic healthcare for up to 5 years. Most states also already allow for a degree to be obtained, but as the rest, this should be mandated as well. In addition to what's also already been stated, I feel that the records of the exoneree should also be expunged. Having any sort of conviction makes it very difficult to do anything in our society. Almost every application that you fill out for jobs and banks and school and so much more require the knowledge of whether or not you've been convicted of a felony. Having an answer marked as yes in itself is really hard to do anything with, not to mention if a background check is necessary and it's actually seen that you have a potential murder, rape, or any other violent charge on your record. That makes everything extremely difficult. These records should be sealed to allow the exoneree to get back to whatever normal is, or as close to normal as they can get after being released. These mandates that were discussed in this presentation would ensure that compensation within the U.S. is relatively equivalent and fair as it should be. Thank you.